we will get them, essentially, we understood these aspects, but it is not supposed to be elaborately understood. We are understanding the diffusion as a process. So understanding the diffusion process, you need to have the understanding about how the innovation spreads in the market. So this is a definition. Diffusion is just a process by which acceptance of an innovation is spread by the company. The company who's created has to spread this to the society as a social system. Society as a social system, that is through a targeted group of customers by using communication channel, mass media, salespeople, promotion, digital, etc. over a period of time. So over a specified period of time, you reach this new innovation among the target group using various media touch points through which the target group get exposed and they come to know about innovative product being introduced in the market. In other words, diffusion process has four basic elements. One is the innovation itself, the social system, which is the target group of customers, the channel of communication, that is the media mix, etc., and the period over which it has been conveyed. So we take them one by one. Innovation is all about, there are four different types of innovation that one talks about: form-oriented, product-oriented, market-oriented, and a consumer-oriented. Form-oriented is product which is considered as a new form for the firm. So it's a form-oriented innovation introducing, but it is now new product for the market. It's not new to the market. However, for that firm, it's a new. Sony, as I earlier also gave you an example, when introduced DSLR, it's a new Carl Zeiss's lens they talk about, which was their kind of a proprietary innovation they brought into the DSLR also. They were DSLR like Nikon and Canon existing at that point of time. Product-oriented innovation focuses on the feature, making a product feature-oriented, inherent in the product itself, and then affects this features are likely to have the consumer's established usage pattern, making the toaster automatic. Earlier, toast used to get burnt, therefore the women has to be present while toast is under making. But as the lifestyle has changed, the demand was coming, the need was felt. Toaster makers have done the automation. So you set it for the time or the brownness you needed, it will automatically stop and pop it out. So the women can do other tasks. So that's a product-oriented, feature-specific this thing. Three variations within a continuous innovation. You continue to improve your product and its features. So Wi-Fi over a period, Wi-Fi this thing is the bandwidth, the range available, etc. has been constantly improving. The dynamically continuous improvement. So that's a camera in a cell phone. You continuously see that so much of an innovation that is happening. Single lens to multi-lens, etc. is coming in. A discontinuous improvement. Self-help medical kits. So it's a discontinuous innovations wherein medical kit, all that heart, respiratory tool which has been supposed to be put into, say, societies or the critical areas where you can have a quick access and give that electric shock to the people, a person facing a cardiac arrest, etc. So that's the discontinuous innovation. After that, nothing much as say happen on that front. Market-oriented innovation. Here, the newness of the product is judged in terms of how much exposure the consumers have about this new product. Is consumer sufficiently exposed, or for consumer it's a new? Then it's a new to market kind of innovation. Consumer-oriented innovation. In this approach, a new product is any product that is potential consumer judges it to be the new. It may be in the market, but the way it is now promoted and the way it has reached the consumers, and they probably are hearing for the first time, they're finding a utility into it. So it's a consumer-oriented new product, so to say. This approach believes and deals with the perception of the consumers. Okay, what consumers perceive about it, rather than the self-style classification, rather than declaring it as a new on your own, and a customer should believe it as a new. So now we come to product characteristics that influence diffusions. What are the characteristics of the product that matters, that influences the diffusion? So all new products may not have an equal probability of consumer acceptance. So every new product does not sound to be successful. Many new products have actually failed. So some get fast acceptance like a Maggi noodle, some take time, rice bran oil. In India, the way that concept was talked about, it was like ghar ghar mein oil consumption will change, but it's not happened so. Okay, 5 characters that seems to influence the acceptance of the new product. So we will understand them. That's very important for us to understand. Relative advantage, compatibility, complexity, trialability, and observability. So these are the characteristics that influences customers' acceptance of the new product. If any one of these suffers, there may be a impact on the consumer acceptance. It's not that all the 5 has to be present, but some of them should be present so that the consumer is able to gather information. Consumer is able to therefore conclude, infer about himself, whether this is a new and whether this product has a utility in it or not. So then only the acceptance will come. So relative product characters that influence the diffusion. So we are trying to understand those 5 parameters. Relative advantage. So I've given you straight away the example. Colgate Total is considered as better than the simple Colgate. So there's a relative advantage. Colgate Total takes care of different types of teeth related problem, especially for the mid and senior citizens. So then it's a relative advantage. Compatibility. Instead of a permanent razor, men felt easy to adopt to new disposable razor. So earlier razors type used to be permanent and then you keep changing the blade. The change that has come in compatibility is now the razor itself has become disposable. You dispose over a period of its use, okay, and take the new for its usage. Complexity. Smart LED TV is difficult to comprehend and use it fully. So smart TV and LED TVs have come in, but yes, many times we struggle to use it comprehensively. So there's a complexity that may create a fear. Trialability. You can try a new shampoo sachet. You can try a new shampoo using a sachet because that is available. It's a small quantity. Even if you don't like, you can throw it halfway, unused balance part, etc. But you cannot try a refrigerator. You cannot ask for the refrigerator on a trial basis. So there's a triability which is a issue. Okay. So these are the aspects that one need to really understand. Then there comes the observability. Mobile model versus undergarments. So what can you observe? So observability is also one aspect that one need to consider. So these are the characters that will influence the acceptance of a new product. That's what innovative new product. So naturally the other thing we have to see is a resistance to innovation. Why the people resist innovation? So Mahindra Logan versus XUV 500. Logan, which came and failed, and it was a successful brand of the main company, France automobile company, but it failed here. XUV 500 indigenously developed became a roaring success. Excess from resistance gets manifold. So our extent to resistance may get a different proportion, different dimension. So this happens because low perceived relative advantage means I do not see much of an advantage. So that's a perceived advantage about this new product or the innovation is low. Low perceived compatibility. I do not see a compatibility vis-a-vis that new innovation or the new product. I do not see that it is for me. So these are the key reasons why consumer resist the innovation. So continuing that resistance to innovation, the third is the extent of resistance gets manifold. We said low triability. You are not able to try it out. Low communicability, and you are not able to communicate what is so new about it. High complexity. It's very complex to use, very complex to understand, etc. So these are the 4 sources of resistance, namely usage barrier, the value barrier, the risk barrier, and a psychological barrier. So above resistance to innovation, various things that we have spoken about, low perceived relative advantage, the low perceived compatibility, triability, low communicability, high complexity, they are classified into 4 groups. Usage barrier, barrier to use, value barrier, I don't see a value, risk barrier, there is a risk involved, and psychological barrier. There is something that is mentally not making me accept this. So we will try to understand this and how marketeers, when faced with such kind of thing, has to do things that will facilitate the continuation of the diffusion. Marketeers cannot accept this as a barrier and sit quiet. That's the time that they have to play the role to make things change, and therefore they have to take action that will enable consumers to overcome this resistance to acceptance. So, giving you a quick snapshot, there are 4 sources of consumer resistance. So, consumer resist. First is the low usage resistance. Innovation which are not compatible with the existing habit. Electric car. When the concept came in Tom and everybody was talking about, and as if like in a year or two the whole world will be full of car. Now it's been almost a decade and we are still struggling with the introduction of an EV. Capital cost, the problem of the battery charging, and so many things. So that's a usage resistance. Value resistance. Price versus performance measure as a compared to existing substitutes. So Corfam by DuPont, they have introduced this new product. However, this new product, when compared with the earlier product and its compatibility, versatility, usability versus this new product, its price and probably doing same thing and maybe marginally more. So there is a value not found in, and therefore people resist. Third is risk resistance. If product innovation is a first gen with high cost, there is uncertainty for consumers to wait longer for stable product or buy. So for example, iPad, when iPad came, there was a risk resistance, and will it work? Will it succeed? Will it be compatible with other instruments, etc., devices and all? So that led to the risk of resistance. So first gen with high cost, it was a high cost when it came in, and consumers were uncertain about it's. So therefore, there are some who got in, some who waited longer than required. That kind of resistance or social resistance. There is a psychological or individual resistance. So social resistance is a more psychological. To buy home in South Delhi or anywhere, will it create a stigma if I buy a place which is known more as a home of middle class people? So where do I buy my home? So I am trying to actually buy a home, but together I am trying to buy something else also. So that is a social resistance or a psychological resistance. Marketeers therefore need to develop strategies to overcome this or some of this, which they visualize, which they could foresee are going to be the most likely resistance when the new product is getting introduced by them.